Milky Wixie. One day ago, quick story time. So I dated this guy on Snapchat for like 2 months, and my best friends had been dating my BF's best friend for 3 or 4 months. I might call my bestie Addie, and BF Sam, and my bestie's BF Jack. So Jack and I never talked. I didn't try because I felt like I annoyed him, and I was a respectful friend and gave him an Addie space. But Sam, on the other hand, was best friends with Addie, and they talked more than I talked to him. It never bothered me cause I didn't have trust issues and let the guys do what he wanted to a point. So time went on and I was in 7th grade. By the way, Jack texted saying Sam wanted to break up with me. I talked to Sam and said okay, a forced relationship isn't a strong relationship. So fast forward to my freshman year of high school, I started going to the same school as Sam and Jack. Jack and Addie were still dating at this point, and Sam asked for me back. I said yes because he was a really nice guy to me. One day I spotted Jack crying while walking to class. I was late to my class, and it was a strict teacher, so I didn't ask him what was wrong. After school, surprisingly, he called me. This is the guy who I thought hated my guts. He was in tears and said Addie broke up with him the night before for various reasons. He didn't give me details though. We talked, and he had to leave for basketball. Then Addie calls me 3 minutes later, sobbing. She tells me that Sam had been forcing them to secretly date for almost 5 years, way before she dated Jack, and Sam dated me. I was angry with her, but I knew the pain and guilt that comes with peer pressure, so I stayed calm. She asked me if she could continue to date Sam if she makes sure he breaks up with me, and I agree. Though I don't think this man is good for her. I asked her why she was telling me this stuff, and she said it was because Sam had got her pregnant, and she broke and called Jack to explain everything. Jack wasn't as calm, so she told him that she'd do anything he told her to as her payback. He chose that she tell me because I mean the world to him and he didn't want to see me hurt. Jack and I started dating at around our junior year of HS, and Addie gave birth to a beautiful girl. Luckily, she broke up with Sam sophomore year and is with a good guy now. And we are still besties heart now in our senior year.
Story time about how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So just some background information. My husband and I got engaged 2 years ago, and this whole situation happened a month after we got married. So fast forward, it's a Sunday morning. Well, usually every week on Sunday, I clean the whole house. So I woke up, went into the bathroom to take my ring off, and I could not get it off. Mind you, I had gained a little bit of weight since my husband and I got engaged. Anyways, I tried butter, I tried soap, I tried everything, even oil. So after trying to get it off for an hour straight, my finger was 3 times bigger than it usually is. So at this point, I'm really scared that I'm going to have to get it cut off. Because 1, I didn't want to ruin it, and 2, it was really expensive. So I call my husband and he's like, oh, call your dad. Firefighters always know what to do. So I called my dad, and thank God he lived 5 minutes away because he drove over really quickly. Like for part 2. Part 2 of how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So like I said, my dad lived 5 minutes away, so he just rushed over to my house. And we tried a few more things to get it off. We tried Windex, we tried the dental floss, none of it was working. So my dad told me that we were going to have to cut it off with pliers. So he comes over with the pliers, cuts the ring off. Well, a few days later, I had taken it to the same place that we got it to get the band fixed. Or replaced. While I was there, I decided to get it appraised, just for insurance reasons. So a few days later, I go and pick up my ring, and when I get home, I look at the appraisal. It was not the same one that I had picked out in the store. It looked exactly like it, but there was like a $20,000 price difference. So right now, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not mad about the money part. I'm more mad that my husband lied to me. I was more upset about the fact that he had lied to me. So I had made dinner reservations for the next night, so that way I could hopefully bring up the conversation about it, like for part 3. Part 3 of how my husband accidentally told me that he was cheating on me. So like I said, I had made reservations for him and I to go out to dinner, so that way I could hopefully spark up the conversation about it. So when we finally sat down, I had started up the conversation. I had told him that when I took my ring in to get it fixed, I also got it appraised. And his face immediately changed after that, but he wasn't saying anything. He was like, oh, okay, how did that go? So at this point, I was tired of beating around the bush, and I was like, why wouldn't you just tell me if we were having money troubles? And he was like, what do you mean? We're not having any money troubles. I'm fine. One thing about my husband is that he is very wealthy. And he takes pride in the fact that he is very wealthy. So obviously, me right there kind of questioning his wealth, he fucked up and told me the truth. He was like, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I accidentally gave the ring that I was supposed to give you to a girl I was seeing at the time. And I just never got around to replacing yours. So fast forward to present day, I am currently moving all of my stuff out of our house and filing for divorce.
This is the time my mom faked her death so she didn't have to take care of me and my siblings. Yes, this girl really faked her death. So at the time, I was 5 and my little brother was 3. It started off with my mom saying that she didn't feel well and she couldn't pick me up from school, so the bus would have to take me home. Well, a few months after, she started getting picked up from our house by this black car. She said that car was picking her up because of her so-called doctor's appointments. And she wasn't able to drive herself because she was too sick. Well, one day, when this car came to pick her up, she never came home. Me and my little brother were sitting around for a couple days waiting for her to come home, but she never came home, and we were young, so we didn't do anything. Eventually, my aunt came over to our house and told my little brother and I that our mom had passed away and that she was cremated and they kept the ashes. So our aunt started taking care of us. Until one day I saw my aunt getting picked up by that same black car. That's when I started to get suspicious of everything and I decided to check these ashes. When I checked, it was flour. Like for part 2. This is part 2 of the time my mom faked her death so she didn't have to take care of me and my siblings. Like I said, my aunt told me that my mom had died and they cremated her and they let her keep the ashes and that she was going to start taking care of us. Me not knowing how long the cremating process actually took at the time since I was so young, I believed her. Until one day I saw my aunt getting picked up by the same black car that my mom used to get picked up by before she died. That's when I decided to check these supposed ashes and it was actually flour. So one day when my aunt got picked up by this black car, I decided to follow her. I didn't have a car. I was 5 years old, so I had to follow them by walking and hiding behind bushes. I was able to follow them up the street, and once they turned the corner, and there I saw my mom standing on the side of the street. That's when I see the car stop and I see my aunt get out and approach my mother. She tells my mom to give her money for covering for her and taking care of me and my little brother. My mom says she faked her death because my dad wasn't in our lives and she didn't want to take care of us anymore. I'm older now and I cut her off completely and I have full custody of my little brother. I said I'd be sharing more stories of things that happened to me while I was younger that I've kept secret for my entire life and haven't told anybody, so here's another story. Fair warning, this video might be a little triggering. I was really young at the time. I don't exactly remember what age. I was around 8 or 13 years old. Me and my friends were going to this haunted maze and it was around Halloween time. It was one of my friend's parents that was taking us there and it was a group of 5 or 6 of my friends. While me and my friends were going through this maze, we were standing in a line and I was standing in the very back. So while we were walking, I ended up tripping on my shoelace and I fell to the side where there was curtains. It was the curtains where the workers would pop out and try to scare you. When I fell, I tried to yell for my friends, but because of the sound effects of the maze, they couldn't hear me. And by the time I got up, they were gone. So I started walking and I eventually got to a place where you could only go right or left, and I went left. And once I went left, I ended up in a circular room where there was 5 passageways. But there was also a group of teenage boys and I didn't even see them at first. All I know is I turned around and got grabbed, like for part 2. This is part 2 of the time I got lost in a haunted maze. Like I said, I lost track of my friends and I was looking for my friends and I ended up in a part of the maze where there was all these guys that I didn't even see at first. All I know is I turned around and I got grabbed. So I screamed. I was super young at the time. I was defenseless. I didn't know what to do. Those guys seemed like they were around their teenage years and they were laughing and making a joke out of it. One of them was laughing and they told their friend, grab her legs. And so the friend grabbed my legs and they were tugging me and pulling me, and then they started to pull my pants down. Panic was filling over my body. I couldn't even scream. When you're young, you'd always think you know what to do at these moments, but you really don't. You just freeze up. And that's exactly what I did. I just froze up. But thankfully, as soon as I felt my pants starting to get pulled down, another group of people turned the corner, and that's when the boys dropped me and ran, like for part 3. This is going to be part 3 of the time I got lost in a haunted maze. Like I said, another group of people started to turn the corner. That's when the boys dropped me and they ran. Those group of people didn't really get to see what was going on, so they asked me if I was okay. I told them that I was good. Me being super young and scared, I didn't really want to tell them what happened. My parents were also really iffy about me going out, and I didn't want there to be a situation that would make them not trust me anymore. So they started to walk me out of the maze, you guys. And I'm guessing we were nearing towards the exit. But as we were nearing towards the exit, I completely forgot about the boys. I had realized that I didn't have a bracelet that I was wearing. Me being young and trying not to annoy the people that found me and were helping me get out of the maze, I wanted to turn around, but I didn't want to tell them that I needed to turn around because I lost something. So I ran back. As I was running back, trying to find this bracelet in this maze, I had ran into the same group of teenage boys who assaulted me, like for part 4. This is going to be part 4 of the time I got lost in a haunted maze. I had lost something in the maze, and once I ran back to find it, I had ran into the same group of teenage boys who assaulted me. Like I said previously, I had completely forgotten about these boys. How did I forget about these boys? I'm not sure. I was very young, very dumb, and I wish I wasn't scared at the time to tell those people who were walking me out of the maze that I had lost something, because I'm sure they would have been nice enough to help me find it. But I was scared. I didn't want to annoy them. So as soon as I saw those boys, I was thinking life or death. Why was I thinking life or death? I'm not sure, but that was my instinct. So I took it upon myself to do the dash, and I ran and ran and ran, and I did not look back. I didn't remember which way to go out of the maze, but I somehow did make it out. Thankfully, the Lord was really watching over me that day. And once I got out, I was screaming for my friends. I was screaming their names. I was looking for them everywhere. Eventually, I found my friends, and I just hugged one of them and started bawling.
Story time on how my dad cheated on my mom with my boyfriend, and she was the one to walk in on them. Okay, so boom, my parents were happily married and been together for 20 years. My mom and my dad were both 48 years old and I was 16. Now my boyfriend, who my parents loved and treated like their own, was also 16. My boyfriend was a little feminine, but nothing crazy. There was a couple rumors in school of him being gay, but there was never any proof and he always denied it. A weird dynamic in me and my boyfriend's relationship is that he never really wanted to get freaky with me. I had to practically beg him to make out with me. And at times when we were doing the nasty, sometimes his hot dog would, I became kind of insecure, but he just told me that he was one of those guys that weren't affectionate. And the way he would console me and embrace me, I believed him and thought it was normal. Other than that, our relationship was pretty peaceful. Well, him and my dad's relationship was always weird. And you, me, and my mom, we're about to find out why. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how my dad cheated on my mom with my boyfriend, and she was the one to walk in on them. Okay, so boom, like I said, my dad and my boyfriend's relationship was always weird. My boyfriend would come over my house like every day and spend time with me and my dad. Not so much my mom because my mom worked the night shift. He would usually get to know my mom on her off days, which was Saturday and Sundays. So over the year that my boyfriend's been coming over, my boyfriend would always end up in my dad's room. My boyfriend would tell me that he's gonna go over to my dad's room and play Xbox with him. I tried going in the room sometimes just to watch them play, but they both convinced me that it was a guy's thing and that it was a bonding moment, like a father and son type of thing. So I would always just do my own thing in my room and wait for my boyfriend to come back. Well, one Monday night when my mom is supposed to be working, she actually wasn't feeling good, so she came back home. I myself didn't even know my mom came back. So I know for a fact that my dad and my brother didn't hear either. All of a sudden, I heard my mom open their room door and scream, "Oh my God!" And I immediately ran out my room like for part 3. Part 3 on how my dad cheated on my mom with my boyfriend, and she was the one who walked in on them. Okay, so boom, like I said, my mom opened the door and screamed, "Oh my God!" I immediately ran out my room and went to my mom and stood right next to her. Me and my mom stood there in shock while we looked at my dad's hot dog in my boyfriend's peach. All 4 of us was literally frozen in place. My mom's reaction is actually something you wouldn't expect. She didn't fight or anything. She just closed the door, told me to go to my room, called the cops on my dad because obviously my boyfriend is a minor. Police came, took my dad, brought him to jail, and my mom divorced him. No kicking, no fighting, no none of that. Not even any screaming. I'm not gonna lie, I told everyone in my school. It got so bad for my boyfriend, he had to actually change schools. And his parents are currently taking my dad to court. Now, me and my mom literally both don't speak to my dad. And yeah, me and my mom bonded because we were both literally cheated on with each other's significant others. So if your boyfriend says he's gonna play games with your dad, ask him what type of games.
Story of the time this girl tried to fight me at the mall for no reason. I was a freshman in high school at the time, and I went to the mall with my boyfriend and my friend. The mall that we were at has 2 levels. We were on the upper level. And just to paint a picture in your head, there's a balcony on top so you could see the lower level. But there's also 2 sides. So like a walkway on one side, a gap where you could see the lower level, and then another side. So we were on one side sitting on a couch. And the girl that wanted to fight me was my ex-boyfriend's cousin's friend. We always had beef for no reason. And it was never on my part either. She always hated me and always wanted to start stuff with me. So while we were sitting on the couch, I see her walking on the opposite side of the balcony. And we make eye contact. And she starts screaming, "Oh, look who it is! It's my best friend! Oh, look!" And immediately I was like, oh my God, great. We're gonna have to deal with this. I thought it was gonna end there. We ignored her so that she would go away. But nope, she walks on the other side of the balcony and comes up to us. She says to my boyfriend at the time, "Do you realize you're dating a..." Can't say it. Story of the time a girl tried to fight me in the mall for no reason. Part 2. So she walks up to me and my ex-boyfriend and she says to him, "Do you realize you're dating a..." Can't say that. And my ex-boyfriend just looked at me and I didn't know what to say. Then the girl started getting really nasty and getting closer to my face. The only comeback I could think of is get a life. So I just kept saying that and it got her more and more mad. Until eventually she said she wanted to fight me. So she's over here causing a scene in the mall. And my friend started to not have it. Once the girl starts getting closer and closer to me, kind of like jerking back and forth, being like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? My friend was like, okay, if you wanna fight somebody, maybe you should fight somebody your own age. Because my friend was actually over 18 and the girl was 17. And the girl was not expecting that. So the girl was like, okay, I'll fight you too. She was like, I could take both of you easy. And I was like, bro, I don't wanna fight you. I was like, you hate me for no reason and you're starting a problem over what? Because you think I'm a skunk? Like, leave me alone. And the girl was like, you're lucky we're in the mall. And you're lucky my mom said I can't get arrested again. Then we left.
Story time about how my brother caught me hooking up with his girlfriend. My brother started dating this girl last year and they were hanging out every day. Also around that time last year, I started to figure out my sexuality. Well, since my brother and her would hang out every single day at my house, I would see her all the time. And I started to get little feelings. Something came over me, baby. I was like, God is a woman. I just kind of came to the conclusion that I liked girls. Since she was dating my brother and they were home all the time, me and her kind of started talking too. We exchanged Snapchats, you know, just a friendly exchange. Keep in mind that at the time, she didn't know my sexuality. Nobody did. So that night, after we exchanged Snapchats, I was Snapchatting somebody else. And I was sending them some explicit pictures. Since I recently just added my brother's girlfriend on Snapchat, her name was at the top. So I accidentally clicked on her name and sent her the explicit picture. I didn't even realize that I did that until I received a snap from her out of nowhere. And she had sent an explicit picture back, like for part 2. This is part 2 of how my brother caught me hooking up with his girlfriend. So like I said, I accidentally sent my brother's girlfriend an explicit picture on Snapchat. Not knowing that I even sent it, I received an explicit picture back from her. I said, baby, I'll really bite your titties. Stop playing with me. But after she sent me the picture, I responded with heart eyes, and then she texted me and said that she would be coming over tomorrow to hang out with my brother. I basically said, cool, I'll see you around, and then she came over the next day. So the next day came and she was at my house, but I wasn't talking to her. She was with my brother. And then she walks into my room. I was like, hey, where's Rob? We'll just call the brother that. She said she sent him to the store to get some snacks. I asked if she wanted to come chill on my bed. She agreed. And right off the bat, we started, you know, we getting it bonking, having a good time. That's when the door swings open and there my brother is standing at my doorway. Like for part 3. This is going to be part 3 of the time my brother caught me hooking up with his girlfriend. So my brother swung my door open and there he was standing at my door watching me and his girlfriend while we were... Immediately, he was just like, oh, really? You're both fucking gross. That's when he turned around and left. Later on, we had to have like a family talk about this and I had to come out about my sexuality to my parents and it was really embarrassing. My parents were super accepting of me coming out, but my brother wasn't as accepting and I'm thinking it's mostly because of the fact that he had to find out the way that he did. Because it wasn't my sexuality itself that bothered him, it was how he found out. Later on, he told me that he walked into my room because he heard us laughing in there and he wanted to ask her what exactly she wanted from the store. He was gonna ask her if she just wanted to come with, but that's what he walked in on. So my brother went ahead and broke up with his girlfriend. That's when me and her started dating and we've been dating for about 2 years now.